Alright, so here is next part of Mr. Ham's story. For those of you who have not been following, there was this guy, Mr. Ham, and he needed turnips because he was pregnant and he was craving the turnips. So he wanted turnips, but he couldn't find any turnips all about the town. So then there was this turnip salesman that just so happens to show up at the door, and he's like, "Hey, I've got turnips to sell you." Mr. Turnip, he was in the other room having contractions, and so he sent Mrs. Ham to the door to negotiate with the salesman of the turnips, but, you know, she wasn't so business savvy, as they say, and she was trying to negotiate with the turnip salesman, but the turnip salesman, you know, like, "I want the baby that Mr. Ham is going to have." And Mr. Ham, he was in the other room and he couldn't hear these negotiations, and he said, "Give me turnips, woman." So the woman, she said, Mrs. Ham, that was her name. She's not just a woman, she's Mrs. Ham. Represent. She made a deal with the turnip salesman. She bartered the baby that Mr. Ham was going to have. I know this is probably confusing at this point, the man being pregnant. You're like, WTF. But this is my story, so you can shut up. So Mrs. Ham, she promises to give the turnip salesman the baby that Mr. Ham is going to have in trade for the turnips. And then Mr. Ham got his turnips and he ate them. He was very happy, and he had a lovely baby girl that was mostly fed on turnips. That's, you know, it happens. That's part of the story. And so then the turnip salesman comes around to collect his debt. He's like, "Hey, where's my baby?" And Mr. Ham says, "I didn't promise you no baby." Mrs. Ham, she says, "Actually, I did promise him the baby because you wanted the turnips. And when you get demanding, you're pretty demanding. It's hard to live with sometimes. But sex is pretty good." Anyway, Mr. Ham did not want to give up his baby, so he said, "I would like to make another deal with you, Mr. Turnip Salesman," who is actually the devil, played by Christopher Reeves. No, not Christopher Reeves. He's dead. That's really hard. No, Christopher Walken. That's the Christopher I was thinking of. Christopher Walken, despite what you may have heard previously, he was like, "Hey, I've come to sell you these turnips, and now you're not giving me a baby. So, you know, Mr. Ham, what's the deal?" Mr. Ham, he tried to talk with Christopher Walken to get a new deal, and Mr. Christopher Walken, the turnip salesman, he's like, "Alright, here's what we're gonna do. You're gonna get me magical golden potato. And you're gonna bring me this magical golden potato so that I can start a potato farm and not have to sell turnips all the time. You got me." So Mr. Ham, he goes off and he goes to Ireland to catch a leprechaun to try and get the magical golden potato, because apparently only leprechauns have magical golden potatoes. Yeah, just go with the story. Okay. So Mr. Ham, he goes to Ireland and he fails to catch a leprechaun, but he finds one and he makes a deal with the leprechaun. He's like, "Hey, I need a magical golden potato. What do you want in trade?" And leprechaun, he says, "Well, I'm doing some community theater and we need a new script, so if you can find me a new script, I'll gladly trade over your magical golden potato." So Mr. Ham, he thinks the only place to get a good script is probably in Hollywood, America, where they have, you know, those guys making movies all the time. And he runs into Morgan Freeman, and Morgan Freeman, he says, "Hello, I'm Morgan Freeman. And Mr. Morgan Freeman, he helps Mr. Ham to meet with Ben Hecht, who was the guy who fixed Gone with the Wind, which was a great movie if you're, into crap. Then Mr. Ham, he was going to the airport, and there's these kids that were farting with fire, and they lit the script on fire. And Mr. Ham had no more script. Then the terrorists came, and they blew up the plane, and they shut the airports down, and it was just a big mess. Wow, that was like a lot to catch up there. That was a whole, almost 5 minutes. Almost 6 minutes, actually. That's a long time for a recap. I have to do these more often so you're all up to date, so I don't have to waste all this time telling you what happened. So anyway, Mr. Ham, he is stuck in LA. He can't get the plane. He's locked in his hotel room. He can't find Mr. Morgan Freeman, or maybe the Jewish guy, Ben Hecht. My name is Ben Hecht, because I'm Jewish, not gay. I just, I'm a little effeminate. Anyway, so Mr. Ham, he's looking around LA to find a new person to write the script, and he's not finding anybody. He's asking everybody he sees, and most of them are like, "Hey, you've got a great accent. You want to be in my movie?" Mr. Ham's like, "I don't have time to be in the movie. I have to get the script for a magical golden potato to give to the guy to give my baby." And most people at this point, they just kind of walked away. They're like, "Okay, this guy's obviously from North Hollywood. You know what I'm saying?" Nudge, nudge, wink, wink, as the English guys do.